Hello everybody, I'm InTheLittleWood, also known as Martyn. Welcome back to the channel and welcome back to Hytale. I only get to say that around about every 6 months at the moment, but I'm here for it. Do forgive my voice, I'm a little bit sick at the moment, but let's push on and talk about yesterday's live stream, which was held by Riot, and it was called the RiotX Arcane Epilogue. Big old mouthful, but basically we got 6 minutes and 30 seconds of brand new stuff about Hytale, which was a nice surprise. So this brought the Hytale Twitter out of its hibernation state, which has been in for around about 6 months. Back in July was the last time that we heard from them, other than like one Halloween postcard, which we get every year anyway. And after a brief introduction from Riot's CEO, the microphone was passed over to good old Noxy to introduce Hytale to the masses and explain how the partnership with Riot came to be. We open on a shot of the front door of Hypixel Studios. With the Quebec statues either side, as we've seen on social media previously, we walk through the threshold and we can see that there's a solid pic of Lo-Fi Girl on the TV, and we're in what seems to be a lobby area. Then we get a long shot of a more open office space, which I'm pretty sure we've seen previously, but still, out of these 18 desks that are available, there still only seems to be around about 4 or 5 PC setups among them. Granted, these emptier desks could be for laptop users, but the lack of personal effects on any of them says maybe not. I can only assume that a lot of the Hytale team are still working remotely due to the tail end of COVID, and honestly, probably just out of personal preference. From what I've seen of all the job listings, it seems as though your work location is very non-important to the Hytale team. As long as you can do your work and decide where is best for you and your family, that's the priority, and I'm pretty sure it's always going to stay that way. The next part was really heartwarming, so we got a glimpse of various pieces of fan art that are mounted throughout the walls of the office, and it was really sweet in the comment section on both Twitter and also the YouTube video, people recognizing their creations on display. Noxy then passes the mic over to Moo, who introduces players to what Hytale actually is. I think the reason for this simplified beginner's intro to Hytale is because this is likely going to be one of the first major pitches of this product to the existing Riot players who dabble in all of their other titles. So introductions out the way, and it is time to move on to some of the new gameplay. Now, just before we get into all of the dual wielding combat stuff, which is the real meat of this video, I did want to touch on 2 of the details that I noticed. The first of those is that for certain mobs, there are now visual indicators about their current state, whether they are sleeping, whether they're confused, or if they've been alerted by something. Now, this isn't a total surprise because all the way back in April of 2019, during the blog post about mob behavior, we saw within the coding phrases like alerted and stuff like that. But what I didn't anticipate is that they would be visually represented. I always anticipated that an alerted mob would do a little surprised lift of their shoulders and, you know, look a bit panicked as they start to run towards you. I do worry already that maybe these little emojis might be a bit unnecessary. I'm worried that they might start to clutter the screen in densely populated areas. I mean, with 3 mobs just here, there was already quite a few. Having said that though, I really like the idea of the possibility of mob manipulation mechanics. So to explain what I mean, basically imagine you go into a really busy truck camp, but you don't want to aggro everything at once because one of them screams, they'll all come running. So in a very Metal Gear style, you start throwing rocks, hiding around corners, and basically trying to lure their attention away to make your way through the whole camp undetected. That could be really fun. And then the second detail I wanted to touch on before combat today is something that, even going back to the first trailer, is present, but I've never given it appreciation and acknowledged it until just now. And that's the simple fact that armor in Hytale doesn't completely cover your character over. And I think the reason it's never stood out to me until just now is because all of the clothing that the various characters have worn with the armor has always complemented it quite well. It's had that very RPG fantasy timey-wimey look to it, whereas our little Twitch gamer here is wearing a very non-fantasy and very real-world fashion outfit, and it causes a bit of a clash. And that's absolutely a good thing. I want to point out that I actually like this feature because in Minecraft you wear armor and the only thing that is unique about you is that small bit of your face that's visible through the helmet, and that's it. And you can tell that all of this is super intentional as well, because themes like character and identity and being unique are all really important to the Hytale team. They've repeated those phrases time and time again. Even in this 6-minute 30 video, Moo mentions it once or twice already. And to see that commitment to allowing people to express themselves any way they want and have it actioned in game is awesome. Alright, let's talk about combat then. So back in July, which was the last time we heard from the Hytale team, we were shown updated iterations of the sword and shield as well as the 2-handed mace combat. This time around, it's all about the double daggers. There is another weapon shown off here, but it basically behaves exactly the same as the 2-handed mace, but just looks like a hammer instead, so I won't linger on that too much. So in the first clip, the rogue, let's just call them that for simplicity, throws their arms back in a very Naruto style, their daggers shimmer, and then they perform a relatively relatively shallow leap towards the goblin ahead of them. And the reason I call it a shallow leap is because later in the same video, we see a 1v1 PvP duel where the rogue gets way more height before soaring to the ground with those daggers out trying to skewer the enemy. So at a glance, we get 3 uses of this ability throughout the presentation. 2 of them utilize a jump at the beginning, and the third one that we see first does not. So I'm going to chalk this one up to player behavior. I reckon this is just the PvPer is so used to jumping in the air before executing this move, and the leap in the air isn't actually part of the ability. What I would love to know though is whether the damage increases the longer you fall before you impale the opponent, or whether it's the same output regardless. The other ability on display here is a very noticeable dash. We see it in both the mob clip as well as the PvP clip, and it clearly exists to strengthen the dual wielder up a little bit because their attacks probably don't hit as hard, but it allows them better maneuverability between each blow. Currently, it seems to only move you horizontally. I can imagine it will stay that way as well because allowing the player to dash in any direction they're simply looking might get a little bit OP. And it's used to great effect as well. During the PvP sequence where the Hammer Boy uses a knock-up ability, the character uses it mid-air to get out of harm's way before a second attack comes in. And then, of course, we need to discuss the signature move. So after the rogue has taken enough of a walloping and actually dealt some damage themselves, they're ready to unleash a rapid fire of slashers, which coincidentally also amps up the two-hander to bring theirs out as well. There's nothing major to point out here regarding the signature move, it's just cool to make note of them as we go on and each weapon is revealed to us. What I am enjoying though is the consistency with using that pale blue colour mixed with the yellow to signify that something special is happening, something more effective, and you should try and get out of its way if you can. Another random little thought that came to mind during the PvP fight as well was the relationship between armour and weapons. In this example, both players seem to be wearing the same armour, so for now we can probably assume that your armour won't be dictated by your choice of weapon. In some RPG games, dual wielders will only be granted access to lighter armors like leather and stuff like that, whereas a two-hander would be given something sturdier, more metallic, to take on more blows between their long, slow attacks. And I definitely prefer the just let them wear what they want approach. It will just give the Hytale team more of a challenge when it comes to balancing damage output with abilities and movement for each weapon to keep a level playing field, but that's on them. Alright, so we got the combat done and dusted. Let's move on to the more creative side of the game where we get a fresh glimpse at the Hytale asset editor. So I'm not sure this is to be confused with the Hytale model maker. It seems to be kind of in that ballpark, but I think this is a more fun drag and drop simplified way of people being able to create mobs. We've seen similar moves from Minecraft recently with the Bedrock edition and them working together with Blockbench in order to create more simplified tools, which could hopefully inspire an entire generation who don't know about coding but have an interest in game development. We get given demonstrations of how you can change the world lighting, the fog, and various other things. It's all super impressive. And can we just take a moment to notice how beautiful the flying animation is? It's just so subtle, but it's just mwah, chef kiss. The feet dangling down, the gentle sway of them, and then when you move around the world, the body's a bit more reactive with the gravity. It's just great. The next shot sends us into the jungle, which we haven't seen many glimpses of so far, and we get a much better look at the raptors from the concept art from way back when. And what's really interesting is that it seems to be wearing some kind of headpiece. Is it tamed? Is it custom for a mini game? I feel like it's got to be something custom because the players are also wielding guns, which I can't imagine are going to be in the core Orbis experience, you know? And then it cuts to our daring duo breaking into what I can only assume is Hytale's equivalent of Gringotts Bank. It's some kind of goblin chamber, which has been seen over by the almighty Treasurer. That's going to be the name, okay? Let's please make that canon. He's the treasurer that roars. It makes sense. Please, Noxy. And moving around in Hytale is looking as slick as ever. Every character in this scene can seemingly jump 2 blocks tall, which has obviously become a norm across all the content that we've seen so far. But what I don't recall ever seeing previously was the ability to climb up a 3rd block. So if you don't make it up to the 3rd block, you can grab it as long as you're about 2.5 tall. That's nuts. And that's going to give the game such a massive advantage over Minecraft in terms of world exploration, because one of my biggest apprehensions about the upcoming Caves and Cliffs update is that, yes, everything's going to look more realistic, it's going to be taller, it's going to be grander, but they've not added in any half blocks or given players any new ways of moving around the world in a slick fashion. So you're just literally against the wall constantly doing one hop, place a block, one hop, up the side of these really harsh mountains and cliff faces. It's not fun. And then scattered throughout all of this footage, there are little glimpses at the minigame server, and today, I think we saw something new for the first time, and that was 4 emblems for 4 of the minigames that might be on the official Hypixel server. I say it in that way because I genuinely don't think I've seen these before, but let's go through them one at a time. So the first one is a sword, but it's represented in a very blueprint schematic style. I've genuinely no idea what this could be. The first thing that comes to my mind is maybe it's like a bingo style game where you do have to race to create a certain object, or maybe it's a more literal sense on you actually have to scavenge and create your own gear in the Hunger Games as opposed to just being handed it out of a chest. I don't know. The second one has some vibrant snowballs flinging through the air, and this could just be an innocent snowball fight, or it could lean towards something more like an evolution of the classic game Spleef. The third just screams Simon Says to me. Other than this and Uno, I think that's the only time I see those colours together in a game context. Could be more like a Mario Party thing as well, I guess. And then of course, the fourth one is either Skyblock or Sky Battle, or a combination of both. After both of their phenomenal successes over on the Hypixel server, it's going to be of no surprise to anybody if a good portion of the popular game mode from the Minecraft server make their way over into the Hytale space, where they have a more expansive toolset and can create even better experiences. So there you go. That is the 6.5-minute presentation and everything that stood out to me. If there's anything that is new that I didn't mention, it's either because I didn't spot it, or more realistically, it's because the game has been revealing so slowly and for so long that I look at something and go, that's almost definitely been revealed before, and I would feel a bit silly saying this is brand new when it was revealed like 18 months ago. You know what I mean? So if I have missed anything, feel free to let me know in the comment section below, and I guess I will see you all again in 6 months. As much as I'm joking, I genuinely do think that's when we'll next hear from the Hytale team, because obviously 2023 was the year that they said that we might get our hands on the game, whether it's full release or beta, we're unsure, and then of course 2022 is the year leading up to that, so I think they're going to be slowly but surely revealing information, building that hype for the eventual release. Between now and then, I'm of course going to be doing a bunch of Minecraft content. I've been participating in Minecraft Championship. I was just recently in the Third Life and Last Life SMPs, which I highly recommend you watching if you like some juicy lore and really good like banter between players. And you know what, you're not here that often, so I'm going to plug my TikTok as well. Go follow me on there, InTheLittleWood. I'm nearly at 100,000. It'd be great to hit that before Christmas. Cheers for watching, keep well, and I will see you all in the next video. Bye bye.